Hello and welcome to Vibrant Living. This is Lisa LeRose, and I'm joined today by the beautiful Amanda Frigon. And today I'm so excited because we are going to be talking about 4 beautiful letters, L-O-V-E, love. And we have a very, very special guest with us today. She is just one of the most gifted people on the planet. Her name is Sheryl Blumenthal, and she is known as the Little One. And her story is very unique. She grew up the same way that each one of us does, but she knew as a very young age that she was a teacher. She's a legendary teacher, and she was given the name Little One by the angels. She has a rare ability to assist humanity at a time on our planet when we really need a higher consciousness and bringing more love to this world. So welcome, Sheryl.
Oh, thank you so very much for this, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, and welcome, Amanda. Are you both enjoying a beautiful day?
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
You know, fall in New England. We're doing good over here.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know the sun is shining brightly. So Sheryl wrote an amazing book, and in that book, the very first chapter, she begins with love, L-O-V-E, and I'm just going to read a short little excerpt so our audience can have an idea. So L-O-V-E, these 4 letters spin through my mind more often than most people most likely. They do not appear too powerful when you look at them in print or when you say them aloud. When you really think about it, though, these very 4 letters make more of a difference than anything in our world. This one word has the power to change everything. Love makes everything shine and feel right. Love brightens everything. And she continues on to say that as a young child, her mother used to say, "It's so simple, Cher, God is love." I listened and I looked in my life to the ways that showed me what she meant. Mom always seemed to know the answers that I needed. So I trusted her. I watched love help people. I watched what it did with children in my home, schoolmates on the bus, and a person who was hurt, a lonely child on the playground, an animal that seemed afraid. I knew how it felt when I was hurt and somebody nice smiled or was kind to me. It made me feel better. Bad feelings would go away when someone was nice. I used to believe, well, actually, I still do. Mom knew. Love. That's God. And then she goes on to say, to this day, I know something else. The angels watch us to see what we will choose. They love us. I know so. I can feel them. I love them too. That is just, it actually makes me want to cry. I just feel it so deep in my heart. Each one of us, when we come into this world, has that capacity. We have the capacity to love and to be loved and to share love. And, Sheryl, so your mom sounds to be pretty remarkable. What can you share with us about your journey with her as a child?
Well, she was the mother of 4. I was the oldest. And she left the earth plane when I was in my 20s, early 20s, but I knew it was important. And at the time that happened, my brother reached out to a very famous man who wrote the book We Don't Die and We Are Not Forgotten, and his name being George Anderson. He wrote that book, and that man opened his lines once a year, maybe one day. And my brother, he was a little more aware of things at the time than I was when it came to things like this. He went and he had his secretaries, 2 of them, and himself calling all day to try and get a particular meeting with that man. And by lunchtime the first day, he got through and he was able to have an appointment. And when he did, it was 6 months later, but when he did get a chance to speak with George Anderson in a particular unity, the man said, "Your mother is here with me now." And he said, "This makes me cry. She has such a bright light. I think she's 4 times more radiant than the majority of people I've ever seen over there." And so I passed that on because, we're in life with people who are required to be in our lives. And in my childhood, my mom always had that feeling that, you're going to do okay, Sheryl. You'll be okay. And unfortunately, I'm emotional right now because I didn't expect this part. But I was shy. I was very, very shy. I would look around in life and I would question, am I going to be okay? That was the sort of thing I was. And she was so able to sense my needs and be so calm. And that's how I was raised. And I was very, very strong on the inside, and I've been told that recently by many, many people who are very, very intuitive and very, very rare souls, from many different walks of life. But I didn't know that when I was young, how strong. But I understand it to be so, and I know that if I were to say I know the true awareness when an angel has something that it wants another being to feel or have, we as human beings are connected, and our connection is very real. But we don't always know that in our life, wherever we are at the moment. Some people are more aware than others, but the goal of our nation, the goal of our country, the goal of our world is to realize we are truly on earth as a stance of people all over our globe who have a knowing from the inside that we're of a higher plan than our brains tell us. And I get that now. You could never have told me what these words meant a long time ago, or even the past 20 years. I've really started to fully understand. But that's what I do know now. And when I was little, I was shy because I sensed so much more than I was aware. I just wasn't sure why. So hope that helps. My mom was good for me.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It is. It's so beautiful. I mean, I think for each of us, in our time on the planet, we all have our own gifts. And what makes you so unique is that you have teachings that come through you, and that you've been able to share them. I do want to early on give the audience, the PRN audience, your website, which is thelittleoneteacher.net. So it's thelittleoneteacher.net. And, what you've done is really remarkable because you've brought these teachings. Many of us can sense angels or other guides or whatnot. Some people don't. We just feel like we're alone. But what you've done is you brought through very powerful teachings that really have an impact on humanity and awareness, and you've broken them down into beautiful bundles. And your teachings and your writings are here to help the world realize how truly loved we are, which is really remarkable. Do you want to share a little bit about how that came about and what, how, for our audience who doesn't quite understand how the process works, how that you connect and bring through the information?
Okay. When I was about, say 15 years past what I thought I was capable of, last year I thought I was starting to fully understand something that a woman had told me almost 30 years ago. And when she told me, I thought, okay, I think maybe I can get that. But I didn't understand it until even now, more recently. But she said, Sheryl, you're not she said, you have a gift that will just make you have a knowing. You will just know. The word K-N-O-W. And I, for years, wanted to know what will I know? What will I know? And I would go around trying to figure things out all the time. And a long, long time ago, I came in contact with a very, very, very rare healer. This man, who is now also on the other side, was very, very, very aware of our awareness as individual physical beings, but the high connections that we can come to be aware of. And when he saw me, I might not have seen him for 6 months, and he ended up being a colleague for a number of people that I was committed with. After not seeing him for even half a year, I would come over and have so many questions racing through my head about what I might need to do, what I had to do, that sort of thing. And he would always just look at me. He was a very, very rare soul. And he would say, Sheryl, you will know, but just be. And I'd try to figure out, okay, just be. And that was something I couldn't understand way back then either. But what's happened is I'm so much more quiet on the inside, in my mind. And I have a different way than other people, but I understand that way now. And many, many years ago, I met a very rare person known as the Peace Troubadour. My brother invited him to his house, and this was way, way back. He's very well known and a teacher of teachers. And in that connection, there were other ideals that came to fruition because of that impact on my life. But he taught, St. Francis, because he was aware of the gifts that being had, he is a messenger, a channel. And his goal was, as that being, St. Francis's message was, please, God, make me an instrument, a channel of your peace. Well, I understand that now. I know exactly when I am fully in my mind, doing everything that it takes for me to just try to calm my life down, and we all have plenty of things to deal with as human beings. And when I'm in a higher state and a complete unity with the heavenly gifts that human beings have the capability of having a unity with. So we're all in process as a human race, and I've been told by many special teachers throughout the past 3 decades for certain, you're a teacher, and you will just know. Well, now I understand that. The words come pouring through me. The incredible light of unity comes pouring through, and I do my best to keep my mind silent and at bay and allow the connection of light and love and heavenly work to impact those who need to hear or to feel or to understand what it is that as a human being we truly are to the angels. And the angels think of us as human beings as absolutely a very rare, honest, rare, powerful potential as a human race. They see us as very possible, so connected to the higher calling that when we as a human race decide we could connect from the heart and allow that beautiful wording, LOVE, to express its truth, we impact such a large outcome for the whole of the humanity that we are, that we can't even imagine what heaven teaches. But there are rare teachings that come through a connection with others, and that same special man who said, Sheryl, just be. He also said, you have to make 111 MP3s.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I've been trying to do that. And that's what that website, the little one, ateacher.net is. It's a compilation of numbers of different peoples who've had different teachings. And to be honest, I can't recall the teachings others have had. I need to go back and hear the words myself to establish the remembrance in my own brain.
That's beautiful.
I hope that makes sense. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and you have an event coming up, an online event that people can join in if they want to be a part of the live recording, correct?
No,
when is that happening?
Well, I have this November 11th. I have I do work with animals as well, because in truth, our animals are souls. They're connected. They come onto the planet with learnings and teachings and the ability to impact us all. And we often don't realize how rare their true awareness is. And so I do a whole different group of works with animals, because some people really just want to hear about animals, whilst there are teleconferences that are the connection with the angels in that one particular unity. So November 11th, there's a teaching that is for our animals. And then December the 10th, there is another one which will be with the angels.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's perfect
Thank
just
you.
to start off the holiday, kick off the holiday season. What a way to do that. And they can sign up on your website. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. And there are two different websites if they're interested in the animals. That's Human Animal Bond and Beyond.com. And then the other one is thelittle1ateacher.net.
Yeah, so you're listening to Lisa LeRose, Amanda Frigon, and Sheryl Blumenthal on PRN FM, and we're so grateful for Jessie. We're going to send you a lot of LOVE for making this possible for us and for everybody in the audience to touch into with these teachings. And a lot of people don't know, as though you have these very special gifts, you started your early life off as a teacher for children. And, your teachings are not just for, even though we're grown-ups, we're still all children. And I don't know if you know this, Sheryl, but Amanda is also a teacher. She homeschools her 4 little ones. And oftentimes, and I think our audience can relate to this, is we question ourselves. Amanda, I know that I've heard you say, is this the right thing to do? Do you want to sort of ask Sheryl some questions, or what your thoughts are about being a teacher to these young minds and what you can offer them?
Yeah, I wanted to homeschool. Started my want for it started, I guess, like 7 years ago when I was just a mother of one child. And I did start to homeschool her for a little while, but it was really hard because my family isn't very supportive of it, and a lot of, there wasn't a lot of people that I knew that would even think about homeschooling their children. So I kind of was doing it all on my own. And when I had my second daughter, who is 8 years younger than my first, my oldest daughter ended up going back to public school. And I always planned on homeschooling my 3 younger daughters, but when the coronavirus happened, I decided to homeschool my oldest as well, because it just didn't fit right with me for her to have to, be in school under the circumstances they're making children adhere to now. So I guess it's just, sometimes I'm wondering if I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. And if it just gets hard feeling like if I'm the right choice for this, because I am at it alone. And even in the homeschool communities that I attend, I kind of feel like I'm a rare breed when it comes to my lifestyle choices, because I really am I try to homestead, not just homeschool. So I grow as much food as I can in season, and I make a lot of my own food from scratch. So I try to just do everything as old school, I guess, as possible, which gets kind of lonely. And sometimes I'm just is this the path for them, or am I just, being what everyone says, and it's just a crazy, outlandish, I guess, kind of hope.
No. You're a wonder, sweetie.
Yeah, it is. I think, I think that all of us at different times question things within our lives. And, I one of the things that in letting it be, and you can add your thoughts to this, Sheryl, is that even though we don't understand why certain things happen in our lives, everything unfolds perfectly. I observe life, and I participate in life, and in your book, I would encourage people to order. Sheryl has a beautiful book called "Watch the Changes in Our Animals, Watch the Changes in Our Skies," and she has a wonderful photo of her father going down a ski slope, and you talk about bobbing up and down and the freedom and joy, but you also talk about the moguls, and I think that that's sort of a perfect metaphor for life. You can be at the top of the hill, and it looks really scary, right? And you got to get down because you took that chairlift up, and so you sort of inch across, and you kind of get into a groove, and do you want to sort of share a little bit about that experience, Sheryl?
That skiing experience?
Well, with your dad and that experience that day that you burst into, really.
Okay, well, up till that day, I had been having a very, very, very difficult few years because I had a difficult marriage, and it was a need for me to leave, and it took long. It was very hard, but my brother and my father, at the very end, they decided to celebrate, and they invited me to go skiing out west, and so I said I would lovingly like to. And in that particular day, I was so filled with happiness and inner joy and something I hadn't experienced for so long that at the top of we did have a mogul, I can't even think of words, slope that we were intending to go down. I just felt so joyful that I went with something I haven't had or hadn't had for years. And the irony and yet the truth of this was that while I started skiing and I just felt free, there was this huge raven, humongous, that was in front of me and high up, but at a 45-degree angle. And that bird started to, it was as though he was unified with me energetically. And I'd never experienced anything like this at that time in life ever until that particular day. So as I was coming down the ski slope, I was joyful and happy. Well, that bird stayed in front of me so I could see it, but it would slide himself up into what looked like a swing straight up, and then he turned on his back, pulled his wings in, and free fell down probably like 5 feet or something like that, and then swooped up again, tucked his wings in, and fell down another time, and swooped up another time, and tucked his wings and came down. It was as though he was skiing. He was skiing. And this guy, the way I was feeling joyful and skiing down below, and my father, who had been behind me, and if you ever met him, he was a very precious, quiet-hearted soul who didn't speak very often. But after I stopped, because I stopped and I watched that bird do that for another probably 6 or 7 times further down, all the way down the slope, while I had stopped, and my dad came skiing right next to me. I can still... and he took a look
beautiful.
at me, and in his face, he had the most amazing shocked look I've ever seen him ever have. And he couldn't talk. He was he was shocked, and I was shocked. But it was a miracle, and it was incredible. And that beautiful bird had the incredible unity that allowed for us to be in oneness and share it. And my dad got to witness that. I wrote about
beautiful. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, and that's what you say in your book. Magic happens every day, and it's in the simple things. It could be the frost that comes on the window, or the dew on a leaf, or, just a little dog coming up and wagging its tail to you. And, Yeah, it's so sweet. And on your website, you have, a very strong message to believe that there's good in the world. And I think that's so important for each one of us to remember. I don't watch the news, and I don't believe that you do. I don't know, Amanda, do you watch the news at all? I don't think you do.
Oh, no, I've been away from the news for longer than most.
So we're a rare breed, but you get, for a lot of people that do, they're fed information rather, and it becomes the norm of living in a place of fear and not really seeing there is good in the world. And so that's one of the things that I really truly appreciate you, Sheryl. On each, in your books and in your channelings and on your websites, you put some very sweet reminders to each of us as to who we are and to what we came here to do, and that this lifetime, we do deserve to see the good and to feel the love. And I'm just, if there's something that you would want to share with our audience here at PRN about, when it gets difficult to believe that there is good, what tools do you use to help bring you back to that place?
Okay. Well, it's awfully difficult in a society that doesn't recognize the inner truth as the real truth to the angels. And we are human beings. We're in the midst of learning to be within an unbelievable unification with higher alignment. And so sometimes everyday opportunities can either push us or help us shine. And I tend to have a knowing that knows that when we grab onto something that creates a worry, we can manifest. And when we hold on to the inner plan that there's something far greater than we can see at that moment, if it feels like it's a rocky moment, and we stay in our center, in our strength, in our inner strength, we can clear away a dark behavior, a sadness in another being, a hardship that our planet is sensing, a wrongdoing being done to us. And I've learned very well that these are real. And if we put our hatred out, we can get that back very big these real now days. We put our love out, we can free something that could have been so difficult and hard. Then we may not even know why someone at that moment might be in front of us with a hardship or a negative value system. But by holding a highly evolved plan of peace on the inside, almost an immaculate love, despite the wrongdoing, we can shift something we don't need to even know. We don't need to know why the person's having that issue. We don't need to understand their worry. We need to be the truth that we are on the inside. So when you say, hey, Cher, is there any chance that you could give some suggestions? The best opportunity I can recommend is to love yourself despite what's taking place in front of you. And give hope anyway. And then if you're not in a system where you feel you can give hope, which is a really unique time, we're on a hard time in planet, I never try harder than the day I feel like I'm against an obstacle. And when I do that, I've learned a practice that supports me better than anything I've ever done in all my life. And I sit in my heart, even if I'm not in the moment, in a process where I could be calm in the midst of anything that seems volatile. But I go on the inside anyway, and in a quiet way, I ask, and I say this on the inside. I wouldn't say it verbally in a very difficult system at that moment, but I say, I am that I am. And I know not what to do at this very minute, God, because I don't know what this system needs here, but I have to hand it to you. I know you know. I thank you, and I love you, That's what I say. And by saying thank you in advance in a prayer that you don't know what the outcome could be, but by finishing that prayer with the wording thank you, you're giving permission for intercession from the other side in a place that you may not even know is a possibility. And if it doesn't make sense now, it ends up making sense if that person 4 days later shows up right next to you in a grocery store and comes over and says, hey, I don't know what happened, but something really wild just happened to me the other day when I saw you. And that's when I say thank you bigger. Because heaven knows what heaven's doing, and we are here on this earth plane as a greater calling than we may know. That's so.
Well, it is. That's true. And I think that's what brought you, and you've traveled not only across the United States, but, England and throughout Japan, and you were a speaker and a presenter at the UN. You've been a teacher at so many different places, and I know that, and I apologize, I forgot all about your beautiful CDs that, if somebody wants to hear some longer messages that are really phenomenal, you have an amazing CD that's entitled Heaven's Doorway Through the Little One. You also have Humanity's Doorway and another CD called Love One Another. So, for those of our PRN audience that are looking for a little bit of additional support, and, maybe that would be a good introduction. Those are available through your website as well. Is that correct?
Well, there's a really old website that I have, and they still are on there. But a lot of
we will. Maybe what people can do is they can message you through if they're interested in purchasing one.
And I don't know
Does that sound good?
People, sure. I'm not sure a lot of people even like the CD system now. So what happens is if you go on the other side,
on the MP3.
Yeah, and they can hear if they want to. And there are some very special portions of that. And I'm open, so we could just walk the walk.
Yeah. So, I'm sure all of our audience can appreciate, Sheryl's beautiful laughter. And we joke about holistic hysterics, that there are some things, when, especially with children, a child, and I'd love to hear your input, Amanda. Sometimes children, they just bring through, their inner beauty is so sweet, and they just will say something or they'll do something that'll just make you burst out with laughter. I don't know, do you have a holistic hysterical story that you want to share, Sheryl, or perhaps Amanda, that would bring a smile to our audience?
Well, I have a lot of them.
You remind me of yesterday. Just my daughter laughing just makes me laugh, to be honest with you, because the child's laugh is just it's like the cutest thing ever. And when my littlest one, who's 2, was laughing in the backseat at her sister, just making a noise at her, and it just made me think of the first time you ever get to hear your child laugh and how magical it is. And then it usually just happens a one and done, and you want it to happen again, but it takes a few, it takes another couple tries before it does. But yeah, I don't know. I think my kids have brought me to another level of just a love that I never understood or had growing up. And so it's I've learned so much through my children. They've literally been
beautiful.
And I've had to reparent myself through all of this, which it makes me have regrets sometimes, obviously, as a parent. But I just am so grateful to have these little souls in my life, because I was lost without them, and becoming a mother just brought just another level of healing to my life that I never even anticipated coming from it. So yeah, but Sheryl, you share your story, because mine doesn't get anyone laughing. It kind of makes people
sweetheart,
it's a sad story.
I have so many people who will tell me stories that happen to them that they really can't share with others, because I don't know if I'll do this justice, but the humor in being Well, I can't really do it justice, but I think that it would be very funny to do a true a true program called Holistic Hysterics, because we have so many times when I'm not going to do this well, when something that doesn't appear to be a dark side or a hardship or a difficulty becomes something so incredibly humorous that we can't ever even begin to explain it to another person. And a long, long time ago, if you had said, Sheryl, what would holistic hysterics look like? I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I didn't have a clue. But lately, I realized that as we as a human race are becoming more aware, and in particular the people who are coming to when I have dialogue with them, I am shared funny stories that are very, very, very highly evolved in the process, but extremely humorous in the physical. And I'm not even touching it. It isn't even coming out right, and I feel a little silly. It's not working.
I see the outside feral cats, and I get quite a number of little animals. And one night, I usually the cats will rub up against my legs when I bring food out for them. And one night I felt something touching my leg, and I went down to pet it. And here it was a little raccoon. He's like, give me food.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, but they're very gentle, and everybody, it's what I find so fascinating is when they're all provided for, the possums and the raccoons and the feral cats all exist in peace. And they just are so sweet. There's no competition, they eat what they need and then they leave, and then the next little bit of them come in, and they all sort of take their turns. It's really quite remarkable.
It's
very
God.
Remarkable. And I think when you see that, and then you see children with when I take my dogs out to the park, children come up and they want to pet them, and the dogs just want to love. They really are. They're really quite remarkable. Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah. So I just want to give out your website again. So it's thelittle1teacher.net, and I think
I'm sorry. There's an A.
Do I have it right?
Yeah, it's called The Little One A Teacher.
A Teacher. Oh, I apologize. The Little One A Teacher.net.
No worries.
No, I want to make sure that it's right, because you have so many beautiful things to share on your website, and for those individuals that just need something to uplift them. We really we talk again about love and how it has the power to change things, and the little treasures that we see in life every day that really do make a difference. And I know in your travels, you have children that have touched your lives, and not just children, animals, and even individuals. And I think really the common thread is that everybody is looking to be loved and to know love and to feel love, and that can be done in very simple ways. And I think that that's really how we're going to transform the planet. I've always believed that love is the most powerful tool, possession, whatever you want to call it, gift that we have in the universe, and we can shine with that. And kindness, love, compassion, joy, and peace, all are interwoven. So, in your life, Sheryl, where do you see your greatest gifts of receiving love, or touching and being able to share that?
I am so sorry. I couldn't hear the very end of your question. I'm so sorry.
Am I having difficulty with my sound? I apologize.
No worries, none. Yeah, that's perfect.
I I apologize. I'm having issues with my audio today a little bit, but I guess the thing you say, imagine a world in togetherness where each of us uniquely different, like a snowflake does its best side by side to accept each other and everyone, making a difference at peace. It's truly meant to be from heaven's view. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Well, from the position I hold, and maybe this scientifically somebody told me maybe there are some snowflakes that are the same, but when I wrote that book, I had the knowing or thought that all snowflakes are different, yet when it snows, there's a beautiful blanket of oneness, a total harmonious connection, even if it is a terrible storm that day. That beautiful white blanket is the connection and unification of all souls. And to me, we have a world that doesn't understand that we are already connected. We have human beings in our world that don't know we really are fully energetically connected. So sometimes in the hardest work of an awareness that comes from that knowing that was spoken of, my heart wants us all to know we have work to do in society, but we have the ability to unify. And if in that unifying alignment, the earth plane is part of our work. The consciousness of humanity is part of our work. The highest vibrational alignment of the souls who understand the words that are being spoken right now, their higher connection is truly an incredible unification with the angels that are on the other side of the veil, not in the physical, but they're connected to the physical being that is them. And a lot of human beings would listen to these words and say, oh, brother. And yet there are a handful who would say, I knew that when I was 5. I don't know how I did, but I do. The real truth is, as a human race, we're truly divine in our inner truth. We're connected. We're unity of all that was and all that is in all past lives and all at the now. So in the moment of the now, we are all oneness, working towards a higher light. And the best work we can do as a human race is to let go and trust that God's will has us in the moment we don't know that we're having that connection as high as we might not sense at that second we do. But the greater light that we can hold, the stillness, the compassion, the inner vibration that's connected to the angelic light beings that are connected to the light we are, is a force that you can't even put into words. But it's grand, and the reason I know that is because of all of the times channelings have come forward to so many special people on this earth plane, and their light is rare. And the angels with them are there. And the greater they're aware of that, the higher vibration their soul can retain in a world that needs that calmness right at this time on planet. So one blanket is truly just a picture for a child who could say, well, I'm different, we're all different. And why can't everyone be so different but still be together? It's that simple, but it's real. Very, very real.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think that's such an important thing. I think each one of us questions our value, and that, we're doing the right thing. I don't think there's any one of us on the planet who has not experienced fear of moving forward, or am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Am I using my gifts? Am I doing what I came here to do? At different times, and it can be the quiet times. And, I start my day and I end my day with Dr. Sheely's autogenic training that he had on his website, and this morning I was doing it with my dogs. They were all in bliss, But it's you find different ways to give yourself a gift, and for me, that's the way I can feel love. I enjoy my animals, and they give back to me unconditionally. And I know we're going to have you on here on Pure, and again, Sheryl, and we'll get more into the human-animal bond and why we are here for each other. But in looking into a child's eyes, I think that for each one of us, and whether it be a child that is 6 years old or a child that's 91 years old, we are all children, and we forget that. My mother used to always say that to me. As long as my parents are alive, I'm always somebody's little girl.
I love that.
But I don't think that ever stops. I think that we all have reminders in our days of the things that brought us joy as a child or caused us hurt, and we have the ability to overcome that. And those 4 letters, LOVE, definitely have the ability to shift that. And so if you had one thing, Amanda or Sheryl, to share with our audience about how to touch in, or how do you find that place where you feel that love, you feel the love of the angels or the people around you or the animals, what would you have to say to them?
If you're okay with this, because of so many times teachings has come forward, this isn't the perfect answer, but I'm shown so frequently when I give channelings to everyone that I've given channelings to, that when we're in our joy, when we have a happy inner feeling, our light shoots across mountain ranges,
beautiful.
Sometimes further. But when we're sad and wounded, the light that's around us can often be just right alongside of our shoulders. And we may not know that inner joy has a great impact right now on this earth plane when fear and uncertainty, hardship, and wrongdoings are obvious. The love that you have on the inside is yours too. So loving yourself is not simple, but there are days when you might be so frustrated you need to have something that touches you. I like to play music that makes me joyful. It just almost beautiful. Washes my brain out of thought. And know that our joy can impact a larger expansion energetically instead of such a tiny impact. Our joy is important and very important to all. And I only know that because of the channelings that come through me. And I do want to say something. I was shown many, many years ago, Sheryl, you'll not know who you are yet through others. And I didn't even understand what that meant until recently when, say, 15 years ago, I did give a teaching that came through me. When it comes through for that person, and then I close the door, and I live my regular everyday. You wouldn't even want to call me something that you would hear in the teaching with others. My mind is busy, and I'm sorry I sound busy right now. She said, you'll not know yet through others. Well, people will come back so many years later and say, I had no idea that what you were telling me at that time was real. Oh, my gosh, it all came true. And I always say, so that people know this, I don't know what your angelic guides will tell. I never know that in advance. I'm allowing the teaching to come through, and then I try to remember what you've been taught so I can apply it to my life too. Well, that's very real because I open the door to help, and I close the door the way I was taught, and then I have to try to remember what people have been taught. But I do know that our joy is a grand impact on a large scale. It impacts the light of masses, even when we would never know that that's real. it's true.
That's
from all the other channelings. Thank you. I feel a little bit like a kid who may not be making a ton of sense today, jumping around.
No, you absolutely, Amanda. You know, I think it's crystal clear to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love that, and music is definitely something I love to. It brings me out of a busy mood, or just whenever I'm feeling like down. It always brings me up higher. I know, like, when I'm singing, I'm in a higher, like, you know, place of being, and it's something that I just enjoy. And gardening for me is something, just being outside, like, in the sun and nature, just brings me to, you know, oneness and awareness, and it just always, I'm always in awe. Like, if I go out and outside, I always can find something that just takes my breath away.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just a reminder for our audience here at PRN FM, Sheryl has a teleconference. Heaven Has a Lot to Tell Us on December 10th at 8 p.m. And one of the things that I think is so sweet about it is you say, you know, we are dearly loved for the work we do and to assist our evolving world. I mean, and I just think that, as you said, Sheryl, you know, we really need to know that. It's sort of like your teleconference is like a heavenly hug. It just is that beautiful reminder that we are dearly loved, and each one of us. And, you know, I would ask, you know, our audience members to, you know, when you're walking down the street, just give that extra smile, or, you know, and just maybe take a moment and share a little extra kindness with somebody that's in need. It can really shift what's going on, because there is a better outcome for our world. I do believe that wholeheartedly. And you know, that's what you know, it is, you know, to be able to touch in with that. And if you've never had that experience of listening to a channel, that teleconference is a really wonderful opportunity. And you can find that, I'm going to get the website right, as at the little one a teacher.net. The little one a teacher.net. You know, you can fire me, Sheryl.
No way. No, net.
We
don't need to have them.
I'm just teasing. You know. Yeah, but, you know, I think sometimes when you have that, just you know, a gentle reminder, and there's always, what I find so wonderful about the channelings and the teachings is, you know, the information that comes through always seems to be the right thing that I need to hear at that time. And it's amazing. The angels know. Heaven knows. You know, and I'm sure that you have felt the same way. I mean, the thousands of individuals that have heard your channelings, and the feedback and the hearts that you've touched, it's really a blessing and a gift to have you with us. And, you know, if there's anything that you would like to share with our audience here at PRN FM, I would love to have you do so.
Okay. I will do a channeling real quick, if that's okay.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
All right. The guide that is with the group that we are today, that would be the three of us in this unity, is highly evolved unification for mankind's purpose. We're here as tender hearts. We're not allowed to be afraid of people who might not understand what the real work of human race is. We need to be powerful these days in standing in our truth. And sometimes standing in our truth is never to even speak, but to hold that very powerful connection with the other side, heaven. And some people would say, you know, where in the world did this weird lady ever come up with these words? Well, if you did know me many years ago, I never could have imagined that this is where I ended up. I couldn't have been able to even believe that I would be able to do what I do. But I understand it simply now. It's something I can't put into words ever, but it's something that we're all capable of someday. And that's on earth as in heaven, because those words were spoken many, many, many lifetimes ago, that there would be beings that would be in a unification at a time on planet when our world needs love. And so when we use our hearts in a time when our world's in hate, we shift the hate. And when we use negativity in a time when our world's in hate, we expand darkness. That would be what I would hope all people could love, that their hearts matter, that the heavenly gift above wants that of every human being, and that this world is not here this lifetime for a long, long time without goodness. Our compassionate way shifts the dark side. Our hatred commits worse to that wording. We don't need it to be darker. We need it to be hopeful. And with that, I am so grateful for you, Lisa, for the powerful heart you give and for the beautiful heart you are, Amanda, Mama Teacher, and Angel Heart. I'm just going to say I love you both, and I'm thanking you for allowing me to be able to be me, because that's something I'm very good at hiding quietly. I hide it when I need to be able to be happy and strong and not hide. So with that, I thank you. I thank you more than words could ever say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And you know, in the words, and there's so many things in your book, Watch the Changes in Our Animals, Watch the Changes in Our Skies, but the one message is to let people know that angels are in all parts of life, and that love is a force that heals and changes all things is part of the reason for the book, but it's also part of the reason that you're here. And I think, as you said, Sheryl, the three of us are brought together, and we have this beautiful opportunity to be on PRN FM and really share something a little different, and hoping, you know, there's always a healing and an opening and a reason for every one of us that come together. And you just know how important each one of you are to all of us, and that you do matter, and that LOVE is most definitely the most powerful thing in the world. Amanda, would you like to add anything before we sign off?
I want to say thank you, Sheryl, for coming on today and sharing your gifts with us. And it's been such a blessing to have the opportunity to speak with you. And just, I truly believe that there's so much good in the world, and that there's more and more of us coming into our true essence every single day. And the more of us that continue to shed our light on the darkness in this world and heal the darkness within ourselves, that we will come out in this together as, you know, a human race, and no longer separated by anything, but just knowing that we've always been connected, and we always will be connected, and that our souls are everlasting. So we should, you know, realize that and look at each other as a brother or sister, family member. I hope everyone out there knows how special they are and starts to shine bigger and brighter, and doesn't hold back from fear of rejection or fear of somebody not accepting them, because they already are accepted. It doesn't matter what negativity that might be projected at them. Their love is what is important to shine through.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, everyone. And we look forward to continuing this conversation. And we send love from our hearts to yours, and look forward to you tuning in next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.